Intelligence agencies have identified more than 20 opposition politicians who orchestrated and influenced court proceedings by organizing personnel in front of the forecourt yesterday when the case against former President Ranil Wickremasinghe for misappropriating government funds was heard. These agencies are now working to provide detailed information about these individuals to the Criminal Investigation Department. Among those identified are former ministers and current opposition members of parliament. According to intelligence reports, these politicians arranged for people to be transported to the forecourt using buses from Colombo and surrounding areas. The agencies are also in the process of identifying those who financed these operations. In a calculated move to garner support, opposition politicians distributed milk packets, water bottles, and even food items to the crowd gathered near the Colombo Fort Magistrate's Court. This act of apparent generosity has not gone unnoticed by the authorities. Intelligence officials have meticulously observed and documented all these activities in their reports. The gravity of the situation has prompted action from the judicial system, following an order from the Fort Magistrate to enforce the law regarding these gatherings. The Criminal Investigation Department initiated an investigation yesterday. A senior CID official stated that steps are being taken to clearly identify those who gathered near the court, using both intelligence reports and information gathered through their own investigation. The CID's investigation is not limited to those physically present at the court. They have also begun the process of identifying individuals who made various statements through newspapers, radio, television, and social media in advance of the court proceedings. These statements appear to have been aimed at mobilizing people to gather near the court. The investigation will include analysis of videos and photographs taken by intelligence agencies in connection with this incident. In a thorough approach, the CID will also obtain unedited footage from media outlets to ensure a comprehensive review of the events. The scope and seriousness of this investigation are evident in its leadership structure. A team including an assistant superintendent of police is carrying out the investigation under the direct supervision of the director of the Criminal Investigation Department, Senior Superintendent of Police Shani Abe-Sikara. This high-level oversight underscores the importance placed on this case by the authorities. In a parallel investigation, another team from the Criminal Investigation Department has launched an inquiry into the individuals who arrested Ranil Wickremasinghe and produced him before the court on the 22nd. Of particular interest to the CID are those who filmed the proceedings and subsequently shared the footage on social media platforms. A senior CID official described this as a technical operation, emphasizing that suspects will be identified through this process. The investigation is casting a wide net, with special focus on opposition politicians and journalists who were present in the courtroom on the day of Wickremasinghe's appearance. The senior official also noted that lawyers present during the proceedings will be included in the scope of the investigation. This comprehensive approach to the investigation reflects the authorities' determination to uncover the full extent of the organized efforts to influence the court proceedings. The distribution of food and drinks to gathered crowds, the pre-planned transportation of supporters, and the coordinated media campaign all point to a well-orchestrated attempt to sway public opinion and potentially influence the legal process. The involvement of former ministers and current parliamentarians in these activities has raised serious concerns about the integrity of the political process and the potential abuse of power and influence. The authorities appear to be particularly interested in tracing the financial backing for these operations, which could potentially lead to further investigations into political funding and corruption. The use of social media to disseminate information about Wickremasinghe's arrest and court appearance is another area of concern for the investigators. In an age where information spreads rapidly through digital platforms, the authorities are keen to understand how these tools were used to mobilize support and potentially influence public perception of the case. The distribution of food items and drinks to the gathered crowds is a tactic that has long been used in political rallies and demonstrations. However, its use in the context of a court proceeding raises ethical questions about attempts to influence the judicial process through public pressure. As the investigation unfolds, it is likely to have significant political ramifications. The identification and potential prosecution of opposition politicians involved in these activities could reshape the political landscape. It may also lead to a broader discussion about the boundaries of political activism and the need for regulations to prevent undue influence on judicial proceedings. The authorities' focus on unedited footage from media outlets suggests a concern that edited versions of events may have been used to present a particular narrative to the public. This thorough approach to evidence gathering indicates a commitment to building a comprehensive and accurate picture of the events surrounding Wickremasinghe's court appearance. The involvement of intelligence agencies in monitoring and reporting on these activities highlights the perceived national security implications of the case. The misappropriation of government funds by a former president is a serious allegation, and the organized attempts to influence the court proceedings have elevated the case beyond a simple matter of corruption. As the investigation progresses, it is likely to face challenges. The involvement of high-profile politicians and the potential for claims of political persecution may complicate the process. The investigators will need to maintain a high standard of professionalism and impartiality to ensure the credibility of their findings. The outcome of this investigation could have far-reaching consequences for Sri Lankan politics. If evidence of organized attempts to subvert the judicial process is found, it could lead to criminal charges against those involved. This, in turn, could result in a significant shift in the balance of power within the opposition and potentially in Parliament as a whole. Moreover, the investigation may serve as a deterrent to future attempts to organize large-scale demonstrations or gatherings aimed at influencing court proceedings. It sends a clear message that such activities are being closely monitored and that those involved may face legal consequences. The case also raises important questions about the relationship between political activism and the judicial process. While the right to peaceful assembly and protest is fundamental in a democracy, there is a delicate balance to be struck when it comes to activities that could be seen as attempting to pressure or influence the courts. As the investigation continues, it will be crucial for the authorities to maintain transparency and adhere strictly to legal procedures. The high-profile nature of the case and its potential political implications make it essential that the investigation is seen to be fair, thorough, and free from any hint of political bias. The coming weeks and months are likely to see further developments in this case, with potential revelations about the extent of the organized efforts to influence the court proceedings. The political landscape of Sri Lanka may well be shaped by the outcomes of this investigation, as the country grapples with issues of corruption, political influence, and the integrity of its judicial system.